The last train of the night wasn't supposed to stop. That's what the conductor told us when the storm hit. No signals, frozen switches, tracks vanishing under snow. We were stranded in the middle of nowhere, the blizzard screaming so loud it drowned out the engine's idle hum. There were 8 passengers in the rear car, 8 breathing, shivering souls. I counted them because the cold makes you paranoid, and paranoia keeps you alive. I was wrong. The lights flickered around 2:13 a.m. Not out, just dimmer. Like something was leaning on the power. That's when the intercom crackled. Cold. The voice was thin, warped by static. Not the conductor's. I stood, heart pounding. Hello! The intercom clicked off. A moment later, someone knocked on the rear door of the train. We stared at it in disbelief. Outside was nothing but swirling white. No platform, no town, no road for miles. The knock came again. Soft, polite. An old man spoke from the other side. Please, he said gently. The storm caught me. I just need to warm up. A woman near the window shook her head. There's no one out there, she whispered. That's impossible. The frost on the glass shifted. A silhouette appeared. Tall, bent, unmoving despite the wind. Snow piled against its legs but never past the knees, like the storm didn't dare touch it. The old man knocked a third time. Let me in. One of the passengers, a young guy in a varsity jacket, stepped forward. We can't just leave him, he said. He'll die out there. I grabbed his sleeve. Look at the snow. There are no footprints. The man outside sighed. You noticed, he said. The door handle began to turn. Shouldn't have. The system was locked. But ice crept over the metal, spreading like veins. The handle moved anyway. The door slid open a few inches. The cold rushed in. Wrong cold, sharper than air should be, smelling faintly of metal and old graves. The old man leaned forward, face half lit by the train's dim lights. His eyes were completely white. Behind him, shapes stood in the storm. Dozens of them. Faces pressed close together, watching, waiting their turn. Warmth travels, the old man whispered. Once one of us enters, the rest will follow. The varsity jacket guy screamed and tried to push the door closed. Frost raced up his arms where he touched it, skin turning gray in seconds. He fell backward, stiff as stone. The door slammed shut on its own. Silence filled the car, broken only by panicked breathing. When the storm finally passed, rescue crews found the train intact. 7 survivors. 1 passenger frozen solid near the rear door, eyes wide in terror. The report said exposure got him. They never explained why his hand was frozen into the shape of someone else's fingers, or why, when the engine powered back on, the intercom whispered, "Next stop." The storm wasn't supposed to be this bad. That's what the radio said as we left the last gas station before the mountain pass. Light snow, poor visibility, expect delays. Nothing about wide-out winds that screamed like something alive. Nothing about roads vanishing under ice. Nothing about how a blizzard can erase the world and leave you alone, with whatever is waiting in the cold. There were 3 of us in the truck. Me, my brother Evan, and our friend Mark. We were hauling supplies to a remote lodge, a favor for a man who paid in cash and didn't ask questions. By nightfall, the sky turned the color of bruised steel, and snow came down sideways. The road signs disappeared first. Then the trees thinned, swallowed by white. The engine coughed once. Then again. Don't do this, Mark muttered, tapping the dashboard like it could hear him. When the truck finally died, the silence was worse than the wind. The heater cut out, and cold crept in fast, biting through coats and gloves. Evan tried the ignition again and again until the battery gave up with a tired click. We were stranded. The map showed a ranger station 5 miles back, but the storm had already erased our tracks. Walking in this was suicide. So we stayed, huddled together, breath fogging the cab windows as the blizzard buried us inch by inch. That's when we heard the knock. 3 slow taps. From outside. I laughed at first, pure nerves. Probably ice falling off the mirror, I said. Then the knock came again. this time on the passenger side window. Mark froze. Evan leaned forward, wiping frost from the glass. "Hello?" he called, voice shaking. A shape stood just beyond the window, tall, thin, wrapped in something that fluttered like rags. Snow clung to it, but it didn't move with the wind. It stood perfectly still, as if waiting. Mark shook his head hard. "Don't open it." Another knock. Firmer. Closer. I cracked the window an inch. The cold punched me in the face. "We need help," I said. "Are you?" The thing leaned forward. His face was wrong. Skin pale as frostbite, eyes sunk deep and rimmed with ice. When it smiled, its lips didn't move, just stretched, like frozen rubber. "Warm," it whispered. "Let me in. I'm so cold." Evan slammed the window shut. "No. No way." The thing tilted its head, listening to the storm like it understood it. Then it stepped back and vanished into the white. For a long time we said nothing. The blizzard howled, rocking the truck. Snow piled higher, sealing us in. Hours passed. Maybe. Mark started shivering uncontrollably. "We can't last the night," he said. "We need heat." He reached for the door handle. Evan grabbed his wrist. "Did you forget its face?" Mark's teeth chattered. "It was just a guy. Hypothermia messes with your head." Before we could stop him, he yanked the door open. The wind exploded inside the cab, snow blasting in like needles. And there it was, standing inches from the open door, as if it had been waiting for the invitation. Mark screamed once. The thing's hand, long, gray, fingers cracked with ice, wrapped around his collar. It didn't drag him, pulled, and Mark slid out like he weighed nothing. The door slammed shut on its own, sealing Evan and me inside. We watched Mark disappear into the blizzard, his screams cut short, swallowed by the wind. Evan broke down then. He pounded the glass, sobbing, calling Mark's name until his voice went raw. The knocking returned at dawn. This time it came from all sides. Shapes moved outside the truck, several of them now. Pale faces pressed against the windows, leaving frost patterns shaped like hands and mouths. They knocked in rhythm, slow and patient. "Warm," they whispered together. "Let us in." Evan slumped against the seat, eyes glassy. "They're dead," he said. "They're all dead. People who got lost." One face lingered longer than the others. It was Mark. His eyes were wide and empty, skin blue with cold. His lips cracked into a smile that wasn't his. He raised a frozen hand and knocked softly, like he didn't want to wake us. "Open up," Mark said, voice thin and wrong. "I'm freezing." I covered my ears and screamed until my throat burned. When the storm finally broke, rescue crews found the truck half buried in snow. They said I was the only survivor. They said Evan froze sometime during the night, curled into the seat like a child. They asked me what happened out there. I told them the blizzard took my friends. That's what the report says. But sometimes, when winter storms roll in and the wind rattles my windows, I hear the knocking again. Soft, patient, right outside my door. And a familiar voice whispers, "Warm, just let me in." The call came in just before midnight. A stranded vehicle. Remote highway. Whiteout conditions. No cell signal. The kind of rescue that turns routine into regret if you survive it long enough. I was riding shotgun in the Snowcat, partnered with Ron, 20 years on winter rescues. The kind of man who trusted storms more than people. The blizzard swallowed our headlights almost immediately. Snow hammered the windshield so hard it sounded like claws scraping glass. "People think the cold just kills you," Ron said, eyes fixed on the road. "Truth is, it invites things." I laughed, but the sound died quickly in the roaring wind. We found the car at mile marker 117. Half buried, engine dead, doors locked from the inside. Frost coated the windows so thick we had to scrape a hole just to see in. The driver was alive. A woman sat behind the wheel, hands clenched, eyes wide open. Her lips were blue, her skin gray, but her chest still moved slow, shallow breaths. I knocked hard. "Rescue." Open the door. Her head turned toward us in a single stiff motion. No, she mouthed. Ron frowned. Ma'am, you're freezing. We're here to help. She shook her head violently. Tears froze on her cheeks. With trembling fingers, she pointed to the back seat. I leaned closer, wiping more ice from the glass. First, I saw nothing. Then the frost shifted. Someone was sitting back there, curled low, knees to chest, face hidden beneath a hood dusted with snow. The windows were sealed. No footprints outside. No signs anyone else had entered the car. 2 victims, I said quietly. Ron didn't answer. The figure in the back seat lifted its head. Its face was smooth and pale, like ice stretched over bone. No breath fogged the glass. Its mouth opened anyway. Tap, tap, tap. It knocked from the inside. The woman screamed, sound muffled by the sealed car. She fumbled with the locks, then froze as the thing leaned forward, its forehead pressing gently against the glass between them. Warm, it whispered. I heard it through the metal, through the storm, like it was speaking directly into my skull. Ron grabbed my arm. Back up. Now. The car doors unlocked themselves, all 4 at once. The back door opened first. The cold surged outward like a living thing. Snow spiraled into the car instead of out, swirling around the back seat. As the figure stood up, too tall to fit properly, joints bending the wrong way. The woman bolted from the driver's seat, collapsing into the snowcat's tracks. I dragged her toward safety while Ron swung his light back to the car. The back seat was empty. Ron stared, breathing hard. That's not possible. The woman sobbed against my jacket. It followed me, she cried. It walks in storms. It sits where the cold is worst. It waits until you're too tired to fight it. The blizzard screamed louder. Something moved behind Ron. He turned slowly. I never saw it clearly, just a shape forming out of snow and shadow, rising up behind him like a person made of frost and hunger. Ron's flashlight dropped, spinning uselessly on the ground. He didn't scream. He just went still. The wind erased him in seconds. I dragged the woman into the snowcat and drove blind until the storm loosened its grip. When we reached base, they asked where my partner was. I told them he must have gotten lost in the whiteout. They nodded. They always do. Every winter since, I've been called out to the same stretch of road. Same mile marker. Same blizzard warnings. And every time, I find a car half buried in snow, with someone sitting very quietly in the back seat, waiting to be rescued.